yeah, you seem to know a lot more about brewing than I do.
That was purely a circumstance of, hey Thomas, you've homebrewed before. Yeah, I watched somebody put together a batch of cider. I don't know if I've homebrewed. yeah, cool. You're in charge of the homebrew section.
Yeah.
Guess I'm reading. So I learned by doing.
Yeah, I learned by just reading.
That's how I learned.
Yeah.
Joy of homebrewing. That's how I learned.
Yeah.
The complete Joy of homebrewing volume, I don't know. Let's just say 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, no, I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
Like I was saying before, I know like with Weissbiers you want to do like a decoction mash is good. Mm-hmm. But I don't know why necessarily.
I think I think the multi-step mash, like what I principally did was like, I'm putting the grain in there, I'm putting the water in there. It's gonna be at a single temperature. I'm gonna let it convert. Let the malts convert from starch into sugar. If you do a multi-step mash, I'll just call it, the different enzymes react at different temperatures better, so you can have a better conversion. Yeah. Which will lead to a little bit more full beer, as well as more efficiency. So you don't have to use as much grain to get your desired alcohol content.
And that's like alpha, beta, amylase type shit.
Yeah, it's that stuff, which I didn't have the equipment for, really, because I did it out of an igloo cooler in a fairly homebrewer setup. Like, if I had a pilot system where I could control temperatures, or if I had a burner and an accurate thermometer and all this other shit, I could do that. But I was like, I'm just kind of brewing because I enjoy the process and I like drinking. Yeah. It's a shock, I know. but yeah, so, yeah, that is important. I think it's more important for a beer like this, like a Weissbier or any other beer that's a little bit more malt forward. I'd say this is malt and yeast forward rather than hop. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Right? So, yeah, I think that's important. I never got into it that much, but that was purely because I didn't want to spend a couple $1,000. So that's why I'm an amateur, a rank amateur.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is important. But I was actually looking at this and like, when homebrewing or brewing Weissbiers, what's the most important? I was actually surprised when I found out, because I'm not a huge Weissbier guy.
Yeah, I'm not either. Like, I don't like this.
What are we drinking? It's a Second Shift
OG Haze Craze.
OG Haze Craze. It also says on the can Kaiser Tiger. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
5.6%. So the alcohol's right, and it tells me to call a phone number for a good time. I'm not going to be doing that. Yeah, I've never been a big Hefeweizen guy, Weissbier guy.
Yeah. I'll tell you what though, I've had like a couple of the old school, like German, like the Schneider Weiss, I had a week ago, and it was delicious. It is really clovey. It's not really very banana-y. It's darker. It's a lot darker than this.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. I like the clove better than the banana. I hate banana flavor stuff.
Yeah, you should try that one. That's the Tap 7 Schneider Weiss. And it's like one of the originators of the, newer style Weissbier. Okay. So they've been doing it for fucking forever, but
yeah,
it's good
because it's a German.
Yeah.
No, it's the banana and the bubblegummy stuff I don't like.
Yeah, I like the bubblegum I get every now and then, but I feel like I don't get it very often. Like I think that Weinstefaner Hef, I get a lot of bubblegum from, and that's just fucking weird.
Yeah, you know what I don't need ever in my life? Gum.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I've never had gum in my life, but that's another story entirely. No, yeah, I'm with you on that. There are some that I like. Like if you're talking about just like wheat beers, I tend to fade more towards the simpler ones and not the super phenol ones that get that bubblegum and banana. Like an Odell Easy Street Wheat. I'll crush it. I never really buy it. I like it, but I'm really down for all that. Which kind of brings it to like the yeast is a big thing, and I was actually surprised to learn if you're homebrewing, I'm normally a big advocate of pitching a lot of yeast. Right. So if you're doing homebrewing, you get done with all your mash, your boil and everything else. You want to pitch enough yeast for it to convert, because the big problem with homebrewers is there's like a dreaded it's 1.020 the gravity, like it stalls basically.
Oh yeah.
And it finishes too sweet. So you need to build a yeast starter to push through that and have enough yeast to eat all the sugar. Right. Have enough ingredients to do your goddamn job.
Whereas these are like the opposite, right?
Yeah. So these apparently you don't want to underpitch, but you just want to pitch a medium amount. So it stresses out the yeast, and that's where you start getting all these weird kind of flavors and esters and all that other
stuff that's an off flavor. Yeah. Usually. Yeah. But it's kind of the key characteristic.
Yeah, exactly. It's working harder. It's under siege, basically. Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. Yeah. It is. This yeast is on a train. But yeah, you want to stress it out so it gives you these weird flavors. I'd say the other big thing with homebrewing, it mainly plays like any other beer. You want a solid German hop, right, to get your bitterness, but that's not a lot of it. You don't need much.
Yeah, it's very much underneath. It's an underlying thing.
Yeah, so it's actually, in the terms of a cost for your homebrewer, it's actually an affordable beer to make.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to do the malts, fine. It's not super high alc, so you're not spending a lot on malts.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot of hops, which are generally the more expensive part of it. You do need a specialized yeast, but then you don't need a lot of it.
Yeah, so it seems like it's more work.
It's more work.
Less money, more work.
It's more work, but yeah, less money, and it's good if you like the style of beer. And it's on the malt side, you don't need to buy a lot of it, but what you do need to do is you need a lot of wheat, and wheat and rye can get gummy, and that can cause the mash to get stuck.
Yeah.
And when you're filtering it out, like it can get really thick oatmeal.
Oh,
so
yeah.
to avoid that, the one thing you do need to do is rice hulls, they look almost like it's the hull of rice, right?
Sure.
As I said, but it almost looks like a coarser version of it's almost like a thin, coarse cut of mulch. Almost is kind of what it looks like. They're
Really?
and they're super cheap. I think like a pound of rice hulls is like $1.
Oh, right on.
So you throw that in there to keep it all loose, then you should drain and you get a beer. So it's not a bad beer if you're a homebrewer starting out to go with, to try and start. Because what's the worst that happens? Make a wheat beer where the yeast isn't super prevalent.
Right.
In which case...
You have an easy drinking beer still?
In which case you've just brewed Blue Moon. And you're
Right
fine. I don't like Blue Moon.
A lot of people do.
Yeah. Will I drink it if somebody hands it to me? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, that's about what I know about homebrewing, really.
I'm surprised this beer isn't hoppier, honestly. I figured being second shift that they would throw an excessive amount of hops in there.
Also, I don't really understand the name. OG Haze Craze.
Because it's hazy beer, and hazy beers are so popular.
It's all Weiss beers, though.
Yeah, but this is the original hazy beer. I think you're thinking about it too much.
Justin, I think about everything too much. Come on, who are you talking to here? I analyze things for a living, and all I do is break shit down.
Yeah.
And also, OG Haze Craze. I love the label too. It's like an ethereal, fluorescent nebula, and then the Haze Craze font is all hazy, man. You can barely see it, brah. Fucking second shift. I desperately want to know what Kaiser Tiger means. So.
Kaiser Tiger, I don't know.
A German tiger.
Is it like a tank? Do they have tanks named after tigers in
There's
World
a tiger
War I?
tank.
Yeah.
In World War II.
The
Kaiser was World War I. See, here's the thing. We're mashing up history now. I don't like it. So, I'd say those were the big things about homebrewing. There's not a lot to talk about here with things to watch out for. Stress the yeast.
Yeah.
Use rice hulls to keep it loose. Buy the right malts. But it's really pretty clean.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, use the German Pilsner malt. Add the wheat. Add the rice hulls. Get the correct yeast. Make sure the yeast is fresh. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. And that's about it. So,
right on. That's easy enough.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to these Weiss beers, are there?
It's not that interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, historically, Weiss beers are really interesting because they've been around for so long.
Yeah.
Wheat beers are one of the oldest beers they've ever found. Just ever,
Yes.
So, they're interesting historically, but I just don't think they're that interesting to drink necessarily.
I almost find beers that really shade toward one particular side of the ingredient to be more interesting. So,
yeah,
if it's a British beer, it goes towards the malt and the water profile. Okay, fine. If it's an American beer, it would blow out the hops
for sure.
But if I want a yeast heavy beer, I want Belgians, not Germans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
this is just kind of somewhere in the middle that I'm eh.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you gotta have a wheat beer with a piece of fruit. I'm I shouldn't need anything.
No,
the beer should be the beer.
Well, and that's not really a typical with
not for
the
this, but
they're the Crystal Weiss, the Crystal Weissen, where they filter it. They'll throw, the slice of fruit in there.
Yeah.
But that's just to bring back some of the flavor that they filtered out of the fucking thing to begin with.
Are you doing Dunkelweiss separate?
I don't know. I'm probably gonna. I'm doing more interesting ones first, and
I was gonna say that's a bit of a tangent, but even Dunkelweiss, I'm okay, you're using a darker malt. Maybe this will be more interesting, and it's not really. It's kind of the same shit. I'm ugh.
But yeah, I'm not sure how I'm gonna break them down. I'm trying to do one style per episode. Sometimes I'm not gonna do that. There are 3 styles of Scottish beers in that BJCP that are all the same beer.
Yeah, 70, 80, 90.
Yeah, they renamed them now too.
Oh, did they really?
So they're not even called that in the new version. They're called Scottish Light, Scottish Heavy, and Scottish Export. The new names on this newer version of the BJCB guidelines from 2015 are fucking weird. Like, they renamed Dortmunder. It's not Dortmunder anymore. It's German Helles Export Beer. Because, brevity.
And also, Dortmunders are just so boring. Yeah. Ooh, I accidentally stopped the recording there for 3 seconds.
Ooh.
Whatever. We're just bashing Dortmunders.